Hello guys, episode 3. I think we'll call this one A Little Bit Further or something along those lines. So last night after work managed to get a bit more boarding out done. I'm on the opposite side of the garage where the lathe originally was sat. You can see there I've boarded in that first section, and I've also moved the engraving machine, Taylor Hobson engraving machine, just roughly out of the way of where it was sitting, which was over there, so that I can get to the next section of wall to board that out. Also sitting down there, I've managed to dig out shop vac small compressor that I've had for a long time. It's only a little thing with sort of 25 litre tank on it. The grinder unit, and there's a couple of pillar drills sat down just behind there. So that's sort of updated progress on that side of the workshop. So what I'm going to do now is I'll move the tripod. What's becoming very apparent is this cheap camera I've got, and I'm finding it difficult to get a lot in the shot. I need to be a long way away, and with the tripod and all the rest of the stuff that's in the garage, that's quite difficult. So I'm wondering whether I need a wide angle lens or something along those lines, so that I can get a bit further distance away. And then use the zoom function to get closer in. But this is fully zoomed out, and I'm struggling to get much more than what you can see in the shot there in frame at any one point. So that's all a bit of a learning curve. But obviously, as time goes on, we'll try and improve. I'll bring you back in a moment and show you the other side of the shot, where there's been, behind the lathe, an important development. So we're back, and we've moved across. We're looking back at the lathe as it was the other night, and what is the important development, you might be wondering, because it looks the same. Well, just to the right of there, we've now got a sticker board in place, and there's two stickers on there that I've had for a long time. When I used to support Pierre Baudry and Phil of Phil's Project, both in Canada, under a different channel name. I used to go under Flight 96 for many years. I changed the channel name because I didn't think that was very representative of what I'm doing now these days. So obviously we've changed it to John's Workshop. But when I was on the old channel name, obviously the guys over in Canada sent me, excuse the noises from the tripod, sent me a couple of stickers over. So they're the first two stickers on the sticker board. I've not seen any content from either of those two guys for a while. I don't know if they're still making videos or not, but certainly there's a big reference of engineering type videos from both of them on YouTube. Well worth a look. So that's kind of the development, and I know I need to paint the wood, and I put that up before I painted the wood. Couldn't wait, but I'll either paint around it or we'll take it back down. It's only 4 screws, and we'll paint behind it when it comes to painting time. So that's good, and also hopefully I can use that. I might stick some kind of bulldog clip or something along there, so that if I'm working to drawings or whatever, I've got something that I can stick up behind the lathe as I'm working. So that's that bit of development. So it's starting slowly to look a little bit more like a workshop, which is good. So looking the other way, nothing's changed other than the fact that all of the mess has been crunched up even closer to the wall at the back. Obviously, as I'm working my way backwards, everything's getting pushed along with it. At some point, this whole lot here needs to be sorted out. I've still got the leaky window to fix. I've got a plan for that. I have some breeze blocks that I'm just going to fill that in. It's useless as a window really, so I'm going to fill that in with breeze blocks and just brick that up before I board that section of wall out at the back. And that is the worst section, so that's west facing, or south facing, sorry. But the southwest corner here, because we're so exposed where we live, takes the brunt of the weather, and that wall clearly shows that. That is the worst wall for damp. So, in terms of future plans, and I'd welcome any thoughts from anybody, but my plans are, I've put the lathe and the other machinery up the end of the workshop near the door, because that's the driest end. Down this end that you're looking at now, once I fix that, fix the window and boarded the wall up, plans for that end are going to be a bench with grinder, angle grinders, all those types of tools where if there is a little bit more dampness down that end, it's not going to matter so much, and try and keep the stuff down there that's less important. And then in the middle of the shop, if I look to the two middle sections, so middle section on the right, middle section on the left, which is behind all the timber at the minute. Plans for that, I don't know yet. We might change this whole layout at some point. I really and dearly want a milling machine. I have spoken about potentially modifying the Taylor Hobson unit. You can, so as I spin round, you can see that pantograph unit at the top there. That whole pantograph unit will slide off the top of the machine, and that would leave me with a flat base that I can create some kind of milling head that would bolt onto that slideway there. And then for a 3-axis milling machine, for a small 3-axis milling machine, the capacity is huge. That bed drops way the way down. It's not at its lowest level there, but already between that table and the spindle there's probably 18 inches, but maybe a bit less than that at the minute, but at full depth you can probably get 24 inches, something like that at full depth. So there's quite a big distance between the head and the table, which is quite useful for larger sort of items from a milling perspective. You can see the x-axis. There's probably about 300 millimeters of travel in the x-axis, and the y-axis is fairly limited. There's probably about 150 millimeters of travel on the y-axis, but it would make a handy small milling machine. It's all cast construction, so very rigid and very well made, and it's probably a bit of a toss-up between, do I convert that and put the effort and time into making a spindle, a head that I can slide on there, and having the sort of the rigidity of a cast base that's been well made, or do I opt for a cheaper sort of milling machine sort of they're not that rigid, potentially would need some work to firm it up. Original plans, I would have dearly loved a Bridgeport. I don't think this garage is big enough to support a Bridgeport. I don't have any 3-phase power in here. I guess I could run it from a VDF, which I know a lot of guys have done. I don't know whether that's going to work, if I'm honest, and I think I would be limited on height of getting a Bridgeport in here, and I don't think it would fit under the roof, so I would need to potentially dig the floor out by 8 inches. I think I measured it, and sink the machine 8 inches below floor level, so that I could get it under the roof of the garage. It's quite a shallow garage in terms of height wise. So those are the plans. That's where we've got up to. It's a bit more progress. It's starting to look a little bit more like a workshop, which is good. It's keeping me motivated to crack on and do something with all of that lot. There's a lot to do. Most of those boxes contain all manner of tools and various different bits and pieces, engineering based, that all need a new home. And again, long-term plans for that is when I build the bench at the far end, I'm going to build it high enough so that I can sit underneath it 2 of the sort of roll cab type drawer units. Plan being one to be kitted out for all of the sort of turning type tooling, and the other to be kitted out for milling type tooling and measurement kit in one or the other, or shared between them. And that would replace all of these other boxes where I've got all sort of measuring equipment, verniers, micrometers, and various other bits of kit that I've collected over the years. And that's in these boxes, out of there and into something a bit more sturdy, rigid, and useful that I can wheel around the shop. Again, if they're turning based or milling based cabinets, I can just wheel them out when I need them up to the lathe while I'm using the lathe, and then when I've finished I can wheel the cabinet back away under the bench, and it saves a bit of space in the rest of the workshop. So that's the sort of thinking at the moment. And the one other thing I need to do, the power in to here is there into the garage at the moment. It's on a 13 amp supply. It's not man enough for what I want to do in here really, so I need to put a new power supply in. That's 50 years old, that unit and the cable that comes in. So I'm going to put a new 16 amp supply into here, and that gives me a few more options then. And should I ever go for something 3-phase with a VDF, there should be enough juice to power it if I put a 16 amp supply in. So that's another job that needs doing at some point. So I'll have to do that fairly soon. If I start boarding that section out next, then that's all going to have to come off the wall, obviously, and I'm going to have to kill the power to the workshop at that point. As it stands today, from a lighting perspective, the only light there is one single light bulb up there, which is down the far end. And again, obviously that's not going to be good enough for filming in the future. We need to put some different types of lights, and again I've been looking at LED strips and things like that and trying to work out what's going to be the best option. Hopefully when I've painted the timber that I'm boarding the walls at with white and I've repainted the ceiling, less light will be needed, because there'll be quite a lot of reflection coming off the white surfaces. That's the thinking. I do have 2 RSJs in the ceiling. I don't know if you can see one. Yeah, there's one. That's one there, and there's one above where I'm standing, above the camera. I've got a crane unit that potentially I could modify to fit onto one of those RSJs for lifting heavier things around. I may do that, I may not. If I get to the point where I'm lifting things that are that heavy, I'm going to need some bigger machinery to put them on, so that will be a whole replan of the workshop at that point anyway. But the options there with those RSJs, I guess I could use them for something useful. Again, they're rusty, they need a strip down and a paint at some point, just to make them look tidy if nothing else, even if I don't use them for any kind of lifting or support. So that's the latest. Not much of an update, but I'm trying to keep them coming fairly regularly and fairly short. As I said before, our upload speeds are very, very slow. I live incredibly rurally, and there's about 6 miles of copper cable between us and the exchange, so it's very painful. Uploading 10 minutes worth of video, I think, takes about 2 hours, so it's not the quickest. So I'm trying to keep them fairly short at the moment, but fairly regular, and hopefully I'm up to 4 subscribers now today, so we're making strides. That's 4 more than I had a week ago, so that's good. And hopefully eventually more and more people will join in, and absolutely welcome any feedback, any comments, any help that you may have. That's all good, and it all helps me maybe think a little bit differently about some of the stuff that I'm planning to do. So any feedback, more than welcome. We'll leave it for today. I'll get this edited and uploaded tonight, and then as the rest of the week goes and into the weekend, hopefully I'm going to make a bit more progress with the boarding out, and we'll see where we get to, and I'll keep you updated. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you on the next video.